Another YouTube live here, Steve and Wendy Backlund. Wendy, good to see you. Good to be with you today. And we welcome also our Facebook family as we share today. We know many of you are watching the recording, but we also know we've got live people. So if you come on live,
Well, they're all live.
they're all alive.
They're just not all listening to us live.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy, for that clarification. And we're going to be talking today about dreaming and just the power of dreams. And this is we know there's literal dreams that God uses when we sleep, but we're going to be talking about dreaming with God or dreaming, seeing the dreams and the visions for our life come into reality.
Yeah. Most people, I don't know if it's fear of being disappointed or fear of being prideful, but there's a surprising number of people who don't take time to dream and write down what they want their future to look like. And instead, they just let life happen to them and they don't understand the power of writing down a vision. And scripture says, without a vision, the people perish. And we all agree with that, but have you written down your vision?
So good. We got Paul Wynn on here. I'm sure Paul has, he's writing it down. Viv, welcome. And, before we get into that, Wendy, we think about one of my heroes in the Bible, obviously, is Joseph in the Old Testament. And he had a dream.
Real dream.
and it became his dream for his life, his vision. Is basically his brothers and his mom and dad would bow down to him. And when his brothers, right before they sold him into slavery because they were jealous of somebody who had such a big vision for his life, they wanted to reduce him down to their level of thinking. And it says in the story in Genesis, here comes that dreamer.
Like that's something bad.
I know, here comes that dreamer. And I want it said about us that when people see us, oh, here comes that dreamer.
Yeah, God was a dreamer. I mean, he had to imagine and dream of something before he created it. Any creative person is a dreamer.
Because it's first in their mind.
Yeah, the womb of faith.
So whether it's an invention, whether it's a business, that we first think it, we first see it, and then it becomes, that's the beginning point.
Yeah. The imagination, the root word there is image. And I just had the thought, how they have these new 3D photo copiers that I can't remember what they're called, but they actually produce a 3D product of an image. And we are actually 3D image makers. We get the image in our imagination, and then we also produce a physical prototype of what we've imagined.
In Habakkuk 2, verse 2, it says, then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. I love that verse.
Yes.
Wendy, you've got some, by the way, it's great to see Melinda on here. Melinda Lahai, one of our great employees and
friend.
And friends. Yeah, she's just, by the way, she's just releasing a book that goes along with this topic. Melinda, please put your title of your book in the chat. And we highly recommend anything that Melinda writes
Mhm.
and does. And it's also good to see Kashif on here. And you said to pray. We're praying blessings over
Mhm.
you in the name of Jesus. Wendy, do you have some stories?
I do. I am reading a book that some of you may have heard of, by let me see here.
While we're waiting, we bless you.
Okay.
The Lord is opening your dream life in more ways than one.
Yes. So the book is by Terry Savelle Foy. Imagine Big. Unlock the secret to living out your dreams. And the first thing I just want to share out of here is a quick story i- that she shares. In 1966, now retired Notre Dame coach Lou Holtz was out of a job.
Football coach. Yes, I
Yes.
like football.
And his wife was 8 months pregnant. It seemed like everything was going wrong for them. One day, his wife gave him a book about thinking big. It suggested writing down the dreams and goals you want to achieve in life. Holt sat down and let his imagination run wild. He listed 107 things he wanted to achieve before he died. The list included shooting a hole in one at golf, having dinner at the White House, appearing on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, meeting the Pope, coaching at Notre Dame, and leading his football team to a national championship. Lou has achieved 102 things on his original list.
102 out of what, 107?
Yes.
And those are
And
some big things there.
yeah, dinner at the White House, being on The Tonight Show.
Meeting the Pope and winning a national championship in
Yes.
football.
It just amazes me how most of us can barely write down 10 things that we want to accomplish because we judge them as impossible. So it might come to our mind, but we won't write it down because we judge it, because we think we're responsible to know how to get there rather than just have the dream and bring it before God.
Our ministry is called Igniting Hope Ministries. And in order to write down 107 dreams, goals, it means you have hope for your life. And sometimes I've noticed, Wendy, it's like when the Lord spoke to Gideon in Judges 6, the angel comes and says, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." He was in a very depressed state, and he did not want to dream.
Mm-mm.
He did not, because his fear of being disappointed again put him in survival mode. And therefore he says, basically, he says, I don't want to dream, because the pain of not seeing
Mhm.
something realized is, at least that's how he thought, is greater uh, than I don't want to experience that. And we like to say there's two ways to live. You can live a
Mhm.
hopeless life and never be disappointed, or you live a hope-filled life with occasional disappointment. But this thing is a great
Yeah.
testimony.
And in a way, everybody dreams. Unfortunately, most people dream of lack, of
Uh-oh.
failure.
Uh-oh.
I think it's impossible for us as creative beings not to dream. It's just that most of us are redreaming what we've already experienced.
Mm.
And if nothing changes, nothing changes.
I like how you say redreaming, because it's kind of like renewing. Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the renewing
Yeah.
of your mind. And so is again new, again new,
Yeah.
again new. And you're saying that we're redreaming the past. We're redreaming our failures, and it's again new. And You know what that is? That's mind renewal, Wendy.
That is mind
That's
renewal.
negative mind renewal.
The second story I want to share from her book is about Jack Canfield.
Jack Canfield, he wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, that
Yeah.
whole series that some of you have read.
Yeah. So he says that in 1986, he attended a themed party where invitees were asked to come as they would be in 1991, 5 years into the future. The party goers had to stretch their imagination and create the vision they wanted for their lives. And at this party, act as if it had already come to
Let me
pass.
get this. So the people were coming. By the way, we welcome people who have just jumped on. We're talking about the power of dreaming. So Jack Canfield had a party and
Well,
invited.
he attended a party.
He attended a party where people dressed up as they
As their future self.
as their future self in 5 years.
Yeah.
In 5 years. Okay.
Yeah. So they had to stretch their imaginations and create the vision they wanted for their lives, and at this party, act as if it had already come to pass. They were asked to dress the part, talk the part, and bring any props that demonstrated their dreams had already come true, such as books written, awards earned, large paychecks. The evening was a success. Everyone bragged about their accomplishments, celebrated successes, and expressed how happy and fulfilled they were. So Jack went to the party as a best-selling author and brought with him several reviews of his #1 New York Times bestseller to show people. Remember, this was before he'd ever had.
So this is what he says it's going to happen in 5 years from now. So he's got reviews from 5 years in the future about his books. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Another man came as a multimillionaire dressed as a beach bum, which was his vision of retirement. Another woman brought a mock edition of Time magazine with her face on the cover. A man who wanted to retire and spend his life as a sculptor showed up in an apron with a hammer and chisel and pictures of sculptures he had made. And so it went. And then Jack explains. Many of you know this author, Susan Jeffers, who did go on from that transformational evening to publish 17 successful books. The same thing happened to me. I went on to write, compile, and edit over 80 books, including 11 #1 New York bestsellers.
Wow.
That party where we maintained our future personas for more than 4 hours flooded our subconscious minds with powerful images of having already achieved our aspirations. But most importantly, it worked. All of those who attended that party have gone on to realize the dreams they acted out that night.
All?
That's what he says.
My, oh my. So they have a party. Come as you want to be in 5 years, and bring props, bring
dress as
if, and all. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Although I think it would be fun to do a party like that. We don't have to wait for a party. We could actually make props for our own home that would remind us of our future self. Because most of us, we get triggered by past things that bring us back into the past. Why don't we have props that trigger us into our future instead of always being triggered into the past?
Triggered into the future. And I think about this, Wendy, and I talk a lot about the parable of the talents in Matthew 25, where God gave one 5 talents, one 2 talents, and one 1. And it's the 5 and the 2 people increased their talents and the 1 didn't. And there's a heavenly expectation that we will find out how to increase our talents.
Mhm.
There's a heavenly expectation, and also there's a grace flowing to us that we can do, and to find out how the spiritual laws work.
Mhm. That's it.
Solomon in the Old Testament, God says, "Hey, ask anything and I'll give it to you." And so he asked basically for wisdom. He basically asked, how do spiritual laws work so we can get increase in what we have? And the book of Proverbs came out of that. He had such wisdom that the Queen of Sheba said, wow, only the half was told. And one of the spiritual laws is dreaming, imagination, uh, putting language to it, because the imagination, I've heard somebody say, is not to be the devil's playhouse, but is actually to be the womb of faith, to be the
Mhm.
womb of faith. And I just believe even right now, people who are watching this, something is getting released in you right now. Something is opening up to you, and you're getting this. You're getting this like never before, and people are going to write about
Yeah.
you and what happened in your life.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that just like we don't have faith for lack and failure because we thought it once. We have faith for it because we imagined it over and over again. And it actually takes time. I believe that when we have devotions with God, part of it should be rehearsing our future instead, because when we're with the enemy, he wants us to rehearse our past. God wants us to rehearse our future with him. I love it, when it talks about the people that were building the Tower of Babel, and God said, now nothing they imagine will be restrained from them.
Nothing.
And that's a powerful saying. I mean, and I think it's because God understands the way he created our imagination. We're made in his image, and he is a creator, and he sees things, and therefore he creates things. Um, we're just imagining the wrong things.
Well, and when you say, Genesis 11, it's talking about the Tower of Babel and how nothing was impossible to them. They were in an inferior
Mhm.
covenant. They were not even new creations. They
Yeah.
they were in a time where we have such an advantage. And you think about just the verse in Ephesians 3:20 where it says, now unto him who's able to do exceedingly and abundantly beyond all
Mhm.
that we can ask or imagine. And then it says how that's going to happen, according to the power that works in us. It's not something out there. We have something in us that can cause us to experience uh, beyond what we can even imagine. Which, I mean, we're talking about trying experiencing what we're imagining, but we can experience beyond what we're
Ah,
imagining.
yeah. Do you want me to share about Jim
Oh
Carrey
yeah,
too,
Jim
or
Carrey. And I put this in my blog this last week. But I think for those who haven't read that yet, it's a good one.
yeah. The story of Jim Carrey, how he wrote his dreams on paper and used his words to create his dreams. He once told a reporter, when I wasn't doing anything in Hollywood, I'd go up every night, sit on Mulholland Drive, look out at the city, stretch out my arms, and say, everybody wants to work with me. I'm a really good actor. I have all kinds of great movie offers. Carrie did this every night, not just once a year or on his birthday. Every night he looked at the city where he wanted to work,
Mm.
and then he spoke his dreams. He would say out loud what he wanted as if it were already happening. I would just repeat these things over and over and over, literally convincing myself that I had a couple of movies lined
I love
up.
it. Convincing himself.
And this is, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming this is not even as a Christian. This is just the way God created the
Yes.
universe to work.
How we get increase in our life. And
Yeah.
many non-Christians have discovered this because Christians are afraid of it.
Yep. And how much more powerful could it be when we dream with God?
Mm. Jim Carrey also, he also wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered and dated it 10 years in the future and kept it in his wallet. And it was 10 years after that that he was paid $10 million for the movie Dumb and Dumber. I mean, Dumb and Dumber. I mean, and we say thank you, Lord, just
Yeah.
for revelation that we're getting right now. Thank you that you're moving us out of survival mode, even the things that in our life that don't seem to be working, the things in our life that just seemingly want to scream at us and say, you are a mess. Don't get your hopes up. You've got to fix all these things before you can dream. That's not true, Wendy, because it's in the dreaming. It's in forward moving people. Red Seas part for those who are moving forward and those who are dreaming with God.
Yes, it's so powerful. And write it down and get props or get pictures because we're visually stimulated. I mean, that's just the way we are made. So if you have a prop or a picture, it actually will help bring the emotion. I'm reading another book about our genes, and it talks about how every emotion releases different chemicals in our body, and chemicals have a very big effect on our genes. They can turn them on or off, if so to speak. For instance, we've heard of people who have had traumatic experiences or fearful things happen, and overnight their hair turns gray. The emotion of the intense emotion of that experience released a gene that actually
Wow.
turned on the genes for gray hair and turned off the gene for the natural color hair. And so a lot of times, if we never change what we're seeing and thinking and getting emotional about, we'll just keep having the same gene expression in our life. If we want the genes in our body to express something different, whether it's health or energy or whatever, then we need a different emotion and different dreams and thoughts.
Hmm. How do we do that, Wendy? Can you just give it some more insight on what we can do and just how the body's wired and how all this works to activate the proper things on the inside of us?
Yeah, it's spending time. Everybody knows how to do it in the negative. They just don't realize what they're doing and they don't know how to flip it.
Like just
Use
rehearsing what the
the
negative
negative, imagining,
bad happening.
yeah, or even take the whole issue with maybe weight loss. We we're so focused on, you know, wanting to lose weight but we're more focused on the overweightness on our body as it is rather than how we want it to be.
Mm.
And we keep getting on the scale to confirm that we're not losing weight. And, so there's this thing of even a heaviness that comes on, and I'm speaking from experience. We can get to the point where we get heavy just thinking about food because
Heavy. I like the play on
it's
words.
a
Spirit of
spiritual,
heaviness, and
yes,
then yeah, okay, heavy.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
And what we don't realize is that heaviness of failure, I'm never going to lose weight, or I'm never going to change, or I'm never going to get out from underneath this circumstance. Those thoughts and feelings are actually keeping our body in the state
Mm.
that we've always been. So if you look at it in the negative, then we have to retrain our brain to see a different future, to feel as if we're already there, to feel as if it's easy to lose weight.
To feel it. How do we
Yeah.
feel it, honey? I mean, just
It's declaring it and looking at it until it feels true
you mean just looking at it in our
in our
seeing
imagination.
ourselves the way we want to be, the way that we really
Mhm.
are.
Yeah, and like the themed party, dressing the part, and acting the part and talking as if it's true. Ins
Talking,
As if it's true.
it sounds like Romans 4:17, where it says, God who gives life to the dead by calling those things that do not exist
Yeah,
as though they did. That's how God is. He talks about it as if it's true
yeah.
because it is true. It's not as if it is, that's the way the Lord does it. He tells
Mhm.
Abram, hey, you're a father of many nations. He says, that's true. And he said, Abram, I want you to start talking about it as if it's true. It is, because it is true.
Yes.
Calling those things in you that are not as though they are. That's really what you're saying. So it goes beyond just words. It goes beyond, because the Lord said, Abram, look at the stars, look at the sand.
Mhm.
Put a picture of them up on your bathroom mirror. I
Yeah,
want you to see that. I want you to have something in your imagination that sparks this whole thing.
yeah, and he wasn't told to focus on his body as good as dead. Too often we focus on what we no longer want,
Uh-oh.
thinking it will get us to where we want to be. But we have to stop focusing on that. Remember the story when Jacob was working for his father in law,
Laban.
Laban,
Yeah.
and he, the father in law said, okay, you can have all of the spotted goats.
Yes.
So, what Jacob did was, so, natural. He just took a bunch of sticks and cut out the outer portion so that the sticks were spotted, and he set them at the watering hole so that all the goats were focused on spotted sticks when they would drink, and therefore they gave birth to spotted goats.
That is bizarre.
I know.
That's in Genesis. That is one of those stories that you say, what in the world is that all about? But those kind of stories, Wendy,
Mhm.
are invitations for us for higher levels of living.
Yes.
If we're just, okay, Lord, what is that? If I see it. As we
Mm.
begin to wrap this up, it's so good to have so many people on here
Yeah.
live. Penelope, Sarah, Aaron, thanks for joining us. Katrina, we just Evangelist, thank you. Matthew, Paul again, Adele, Claire, Sarah, I think I already said hi
Yeah.
to you. Sharon, well, we love you there in Weaverville. Just as we get to beginning to wrap this up, I'm thinking too of something where the whole psychological teaching of confirmation bias, which we teach on, that whatever our strongholds are, we're always looking for proof to confirm what we
Mhm.
already believe is true,
Yeah.
which is what is confirmation bias. I won't even see. So if I believe that I'm not a good communicator, or if I believe that I don't do family relationships well, or I believe that I'm ugly, or I believe that whatever it is, then I'm constantly looking for proof for what the image that I already have in my
Mhm.
mind about that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking this morning, just even about the Bible, and our whatever our concept is of God, we're always looking for proof in the Bible to confirm that concept. And even what we're talking about here, because if we think that God is, that he is more interested in us just being slaves, and just always waiting for a command, servants, and that he doesn't trust us to dream, he doesn't trust us. And if that's our concept of God, where we're overly obedience focused versus dreaming focused. And again, obedience is important, but some people, they're always waiting for a command. And I just believe, hey, as our children grow older, they're not waiting for a command from us. They're not. My adult son doesn't call me, and our son Joel doesn't say, "Hey, Dad, I'm looking in the closet here. Please give me a command on what I should wear to work." Let's just laugh at that one. And I believe this whole thing we're talking about the power of dreaming. And if you jumped on in the last part of this, I recommend this. This is a key message. There's people who are watching this message, that this message alone is going to cause you to increase your talents and to break out of the past in an incredible way. And it's largely due to this God concept.
Yeah. And one of the things I was thinking about this morning when I was praying was, I think still we sometimes think that, because I know if you're on this YouTube or Facebook site, it's because you want to know God more. You want to be more spiritual. But for some reason, we keep thinking that we become more spiritual by dying more to ourself, when it's actually backwards. Becoming more spiritual actually causes you to die to yourself. We can never become more spiritual by doing something in the flesh, or stop doing something in the flesh.
Just focusing on a negative.
Yes, it's always about, it's not about dying, it's about learning to live. And I know for me, I don't want my kids just to learn how to survive and be good people. I want to see them dream and be fulfilled, and they have adventures in life and become what they never thought they could be. I want to see them soar, not
Yes.
survive.
We want to see them soar, not survive. The same culture that created 11 world changers created a Judas. If our goal is to prevent a Judas, we'll probably never have 11 world changers. If our goal is to prevent a Judas in us, then if that's what we're trying to, just constantly trying to prevent a negative, then the world changer that's in us is not going to emerge. Certainly, if we're abusive or we're reckless in our relationship, get help. But the focus needs to be on becoming something. It needs to be on unlocking the greatness that's in us, because we all have greatness in us.
Yes, so we just call it out, and we give you permission to write the dream and the vision down and to set it before your face every single day, just like the goats looked at the spotted sticks. Look at this spotted future.
Look at that.
Until you give birth to it.
And just as Joseph's brothers said when they saw Joseph walking up to him, "Here comes that dreamer." That's what we believe people are going to be saying about you, because to keep dreaming, we got to keep our hopes up.
That's right.
We have to break off disappointment. We have to break off cynicism. We have to break off just survivalism. And that's you. That's what's happening right now in your life.
Yeah. Hey, honey, here comes that dreamer, Sarah Black.
Oh, here she comes. That Melinda, here comes that dreamer. Yes, the children's ministry in Bangladesh. Look at all those dreamers there. And Pastors Kali. Here comes that dreamer. Oh, and Katrina and Aaron and more. These dreamers are coming, and it is amazing.
Yes.
Wow, we bless you. We're so glad to be able to be with you here on our YouTube channel. By the way, I do a weekly podcast. Wendy, just recently I got a notification that we had our 1 millionth download of my podcast.
Yes.
And I do that every week. We do a blog that's connected with that. We're right in the middle of our transformational mind renewal course right now. We've got a lot of things going on. So if you're new to Igniting Hope, you can go to ignitinghope.com, sign up for our newsletter, go to ignitinghopeacademy.com. You can find courses that we're doing. And we just are so thrilled to be able to partner with God's dream for your life. And, I think there's somebody who's going to go on a rampage of our material right now, of our podcasts, our books, and just do like a 30-day rampage and just immerse yourself in this hope message. And it's gonna, I believe, that's an experiment that will bear much fruit.
Bless you guys.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for those of you who are on live and the great things you put on the chat. God bless.